In Fusion Fall, there are 4 guides for a player to choose: Ben, Dexter, Double D, and Mojo Jojo. A player could have all 4 guides in a single game, having to only pay some taros to switch between the 4. Each guide brings his own storyline to winning the war with Fuse. Ben is collecting plumber gear, Dexter is searching for missing heroes, Double D is seeking out hidden candy, and Mojo is raising an army. Of the 4 mission lines, Dexter's missing heroes storyline is quite possibly the most well-known. I feel secure in saying that everybody who played it at least had him as a guide, even if it was for just a single mission. Let's discuss how this child of science was forced to rely on magical means to restore the world's missing heroes. Unlike most of the guides, Dexter's storyline begins by the 2nd mission. Blossom has a lead on Major Glory, who was last seen down at Pokey Oaks Junior High for Career Day. The player is sent to find any clues related to the missing superhero, and they find his Justice Friend's day planner. The planner reveals that he was sent on a mission to the Darklands, one he didn't come back from. Since the Darklands is too dangerous for level 4s, Dexter has the player stay with Blossom to get prepared. This involves side missions to assist the professor and even Sticky Beard. One of the more important side missions is Double D finding an alien device called a power level tracker. Dexter is positive that the device will assist in finding the missing heroes, so the player retrieves it from the power paint saws and brings it back to Blossom. Since the Darklands is so far away and the player is confined to the suburbs, the focus shifts from Major Glory to Buttercup, revealed to be missing. Dexter warns the player to approach the subject carefully, which translates to doing side missions until the player hits level 9, and Blossom tells the player that Buttercup disappeared after a fight with Mojo Jojo. She was sent into the sea and never seen from again, which is very weird for the player to not just say, "Don't worry, I saw your sister in the future, she's alive." When the game had the future as its tutorial, the player was well aware that Buttercup was alive and even did missions for her. It would probably soothe her missing family's nerves if they knew Buttercup was just missing, not dead. Now, it's very possible that the player believes the timelines to be different and that maybe the Buttercup they met in the future did not have their disappearance spell like she did in the past. This is a fair assessment and could be the probable cause. The player is sent to do a few more side missions, nothing that impacts the storyline in any way, although the relay race was actually a good send-off mission. Blossom sets up a race to test the player's capabilities and expresses pride when she says the player is prepared to move on to the next region, downtown. Before the player can go, however, they need to head down to Charles Darwin Middle School and retrieve the power alternator from the Cyclomanders. Fusion number 3 had stolen it from Dexter's old lab, and he needs it to fix the tracker. Once the player has the alternator, they go back to Blossom to get the tracker, and then bring both of those down to Dexter. With the alternator in hand, Dexter fixes the power level tracker and attempts to send it to his Dexbot liaison in City Station. Some monsters were thwarting the delivery, but taking care of them opens up the passage once more, and the player is given the tracker. The first missing hero to be tracked is Buttercup. The player follows the signals until it leads to Marquee Row, where they encounter Belladonna. Despite Belladonna claiming she's not Buttercup, Dexter is happy to see the tracker is working. And this is where Buttercup's storyline ends, although the world mission I'm Still Standing is the non-guide version of the reveal that Buttercup is okay, and she even tries to reach out to her past family. With one hero found, Dexter sends the player to ask Grimm to help find the other missing heroes, which makes sense to just make sure they aren't dead. Grimm agrees to help, but requires the player to do some tasks for him in exchange. In between getting the Zuni shrunken heads for him, the player also gets a quad laser to fix the tracker because, once again, it's broken. With his heads found, Grimm agrees to focus on finding the missing heroes. He has the player retrieve the desk lamp of Hades, the light bulb of Hades, and the extension cord of, you guessed it, Hades. Despite having these magical items, the player must also grab a portable power source from Dex Labs to plug the lamp into. With everything in place, Grimm glances into the world of the dead and doesn't find any of the missing heroes, which is great. Dexter is pleased to hear that the heroes aren't dead, so he permits the player to assist Grimm one last time. Once completed, the player goes to Tech Square to speak with Dexter himself. With the knowledge that the missing heroes aren't dead and the tracker is fixed, Dexter thinks this is a perfect time to send the player to the Darklands to find Samurai Jack. Jack believes he can assist with finding the missing heroes, and thinks he knows who may have done it. His old enemy, Domingo, is a soul collector who steals the souls of warriors. This sounds like our culprit. In order to track the demon, Jack sends the player to find the warrior's crest, which has been stolen from the Hall of Heroes from the Hani Baba temple. Apparently, the crest contains the spirits of the heroes of the past, and since the Hani Baba temple is a reference to Hanna and Barbera and their studio, I like to think these heroes of the past are the characters created by them. Unfortunately, the crest needs a power charge, so the player takes it to Juniper Lee since she's the Teishuanzi. After the player beats some crypt worms who were affecting the magical properties of Nowhere, Juniper is able to restore power to the crest. Jack has the idea of putting the mystical energies of the crest into the tracker, and so he sends the player to Monkey Mountain to do such a thing. And it's here we learn a brief history that there was once a Hall of Heroes in the mountain back in the ancient times. Don't know what happened to it now, but that's a thing. Jack believes this will amplify the power of signatures inside the warrior's crest and make it much easier and possible to transfer that energy over to the tracker. The player is successful and has the ability to search for Domingo. Except Jack thinks the player isn't ready, so the player does some side jobs while showing that they are capable to face off against the Soul Collector. Finally, the player is deemed ready and searches for Domingo out in Hunter's Crest. The player finds the perp, but unfortunately, Domingo doesn't have the souls. It's actually his fusion doppelganger who stole the souls from him, which means that Domingo did have the warrior souls before they were stolen. This causes a slight hiccup in the plan, but Jack tells the player that a sacred vessel is needed to get the souls back. The vessel is near the dark tree, being protected by bully behemoths. Despite his hesitancy, Jack sends the player to have Domingo charm the vessel once it's in their possession. Domingo does so willingly, especially because he wants revenge against his fusion copy. The player is sent to Heroes Hollow to beat the monsters there, which is supposed to distract the fusion. Apparently, by doing this, the stolen souls are recovered by the sacred vessel. I don't know how this works exactly, because I was under the impression the player would have to fight Fusion Domingo itself, but that's not how it worked out. Regardless of how it happened, the souls are recovered, and Fusion Domingo is weakened for it, possibly the reason the player can defeat it for a nano and again in Fuse's Labyrinth. The player is sent back to Monkey Mountain to release the souls, and just like that, the heroes have been returned to the world. But this isn't the ending. A recovered soul came back as a shadow fragment and rushed off to the Hani Baba temples, specifically for the Hall of Heroes inside. To Jack's dismay, the shadow is a fragment of Aku. Apparently, some of his shadow fragments was found in Fuse's lair as well. Jack has the player defeat the creatures near the lair and collect the fragments. Jack then sends the player to the Dark Tree to destroy them. According to Jack, the Dark Tree is the only thing that can destroy the shadow fragments. I've gone over the Dark Tree before, and I feel like I've done a good job not going over it in extreme detail in this video, but yet again, the tree is proving to be a powerful force in the world while still keeping up its mysteries. According to Samurai Jack lore, Aku can be stopped, harmed, or killed by divine power, like from Jack's katana, which was created and imbued with divine power. This could imply that the Dark Tree has some divinity tied to it, which would explain its mystical capabilities. But I'm not here to wax on about the Dark Tree. We're here to talk about Dexter's story, which has come to an end thanks to the player rescuing all the lost and missing heroes, and as an added bonus, destroying the shards of Aku so the Earth doesn't have to contend with the Dark Wizard just yet. Overall, the story is cohesive and fun, although it's an actual bummer that realistically only 2 heroes are named in the search and rescue, Buttercup and Major Glory. Every other superhero the company are just clumped together in the plural heroes, and it would have been more fun if the filler missions were still focused on clues for other heroes, even if these characters don't have models. On a personal note, I want to know how some of these heroes were captured by Domingo. Dexter mentioned they went missing around the time of the invasion, so did they all go to the Darklands like Major Glory's day planner said, or did Domingo venture around and pull their souls? It bears no weight on the story, but I'm just curious how it happened. On a final note, there's something funny about Dexter, who is a scientist and believes heavily in science, having to rely on a lot of magic for his story. He had to deal with the Grim Reaper, furniture from Hades, a man ripped from his own time thanks to magical time travel, mystical artifacts, the Taishuan Z, soul collectors, and dark wizards. Double D's storyline still let him deal with candy, even if it was mystical candy, and Mojo's had him building an army with Chemical X, something almost ripped straight from the movie. Even Ben's, who we will discuss later, lets him still work with plumber tech. Dexter's missions forced him out of his comfort zone and to confront the mystical side of the world, even though he routinely bowed out on the matters of magic and left it to Jack to handle. It doesn't harm his storyline for me, but it does make me chuckle a little at the idea. Anyways, now that I'm done, that just leaves one guide left. I know last time I'd said I'd work on Ben, but I forgot and worked on Dexter instead. Let me know what you thought about Dexter's storyline, if you do anything different, or what you didn't like about it. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope to see you next time.